Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited about this week's episode. I'm Julia Hawley. I own Jage Creative, and I'm also co-founder of CityClips, a business and tech newsletter. And thank you so much, Christine Caven, for hopping on my humble show to talk about tech ecosystems. And for those of you who don't know, Christine is she's a super networker, first of all. And she is so familiar with the Florida tech ecosystem. I've seen her everywhere. I've been following her for a few years now. And one of the reasons why I got to get familiar with PS27 and all the great work she does all over Florida. So I think it would be best if she introduces herself first, because I'm sure she'll do a much better job. But yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Christine, for hopping on.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Julia. It's good to see you. I hope everyone is staying safe as Hurricane Milton is approaching today. I'm Christine Caven, and I'm the Director of Business Development and Communications for PS27 Ventures. And I also serve on the board as a new board member for the Women in Tech and Entrepreneurship, which is a statewide organization. And we're getting ready to launch our first ever chapter here in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm based here in Gainesville as well. So it's great to see you and excited to be with you today.
Yeah, I can't believe we just had a hurricane like a few weeks ago, and now there's another one coming. And so I'm really thinking about those in Central Florida area. It's Tallahassee dodged a bullet. We are super lucky. And I was in Jacksonville at the time, and we lost power over there. So I know Gainesville lost some power, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't lose power during this interview.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, we lost power for about 48 hours during Helene, and it was just so windy. It was just incredibly windy here in Gainesville. We had gusts of 86 miles per hour. So it's just one of those years where we're seeing more hurricanes. I know that happened to us back when we were kids. I'm from Florida, so I remember 2004 when we got like a month off of school because we had 3 back-to-back hurricanes going in October, and it was just crazy times to be growing up in South Florida. So we're going to power through either way, and we're Florida strong, so we'll definitely support those who have been affected by both hurricanes.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot lately, just because I'm from California originally, and I joke that I'm 14 years new to Florida, and just seeing all this weather in the last 10 years, not familiar with weather in general, the real weather, hurricane. So I was thinking about tech, like I wonder if there can be things done along these lines now that the tech ecosystem is really maturing, and you're familiar with the Gainesville tech ecosystem. It would be really cool and just really neat to see if there's some serious innovation along those lines. But okay, let's start from where you went to college, and you grew up in Florida. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then what brought you into the tech ecosystem.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida. In 2011, I moved to Jacksonville to attend the University of North Florida. And I started out studying sociology. And then about a year in, I changed my degree to public relations and communications. And that's what I graduated with. I also have a minor in community leadership, which also ties into a lot of the organizations that I'm involved with as well. And Jacksonville was home for about 10 years after I graduated college. Well, let me back up. When I was studying at UNF, I was involved in communications, and in downtown Jacksonville, there was a really exciting new festival that was sparking up called One Spark. And it would bring together artists, entrepreneurs, tech founders, creators, and anyone who had the common mission of action. And what they did is everyone would have a booth and you could fundraise for your business. So the first year I went as an attendee, and I met a really cool company out of North Carolina called Campus Grumble. And I started interning with them as a virtual intern, and kind of started getting into the startup community. And then the next year, I wanted to be on the One Spark team because I thought this was really cool and it was growing. So I joined as one of their 12 public relations interns. And this was just an incredible event that they were hosting in Jacksonville, and had such a fun experience growing with that team up until after I graduated. I actually worked part-time there as a photographer every year. I would go back and join. But through that experience, I got connected to a company called Naturally Smart Foods. And that was my first job when I graduated college. So I had that internship. It led me into the tech community, led me into working into startup companies. And then I started working as the marketing director for this ice cream company called Naturally Smart Foods. They were a high protein ice cream product. And I would go out to different markets across North Florida. I would come here to Gainesville and go to Wards and help stock the shelves and do tastings. It was in Whole Foods, it was in Fresh Market, and really getting that early customer feedback. And what myself and the founder learned was that ice cream is very hard to sell in Florida. It's very hard to get into Publix. You have to keep it on dry ice. It melts. It's hot. All of those things. So that company actually went through a pivot as Amazon was also kicking up at the time around 2015. They wanted to have a shelf stable product that they could sell on Amazon, and they became a coffee company called Civilized Coffee. And while they were going through that change, through that pivot, I wasn't needed as much to do those ice cream tastings at the grocery stores. So the founder introduced me to Jim Stallings and PS27 Ventures because they were an investor in the ice cream company. So I got to meet the investment team. And, I started small at PS27, and that's what has led me to stay with the company for the past 9 years.
That's amazing. I love that. And these days it's hard to retain great talent. And obviously the folks at PS27 and Jim knows what he's doing. I actually found you guys through Launch Tally, one of the platforms there. I was like, oh, what is this? PS27? I've never heard of them. So that's how I found you and just started following you on LinkedIn. And then I heard about your really cool event, series of events really by PS27 Foundation. So can you tell us a little bit more about the distinctions there? And I have your website, so I can pull that up.
Yeah, absolutely. So PS27 is a venture capital firm, and it really started with Jim investing in a few local entrepreneurs that he met at that One Spark event and through the community, and making a few small investments. And what we learned early on is that these founders not only needed the capital to get their business started, but they also needed a team to hold them accountable, subject matter experts and community to bring everyone together to help grow their business. So that first angel fund was started in those early days. We had a big office where we would have the entrepreneurs come in and co-work out of our space. The Hazelnut team that you're seeing on the screen there were one of our early investments. And all the founders would kind of come together and come to us. We all worked out of a big office that we called the Tank, like Shark Tank, where we would make investment decisions. And it was just really eye-opening for me as someone who studied marketing and communications. A lot of my peers were going into marketing firms, and they would have a variety of clients under the umbrella of the agency. For me, I had a variety of clients under the agency of PS27 Ventures as an invested person in the company. So it had an even bigger impact on the marketing goals that we were setting for our companies. Our companies always come first when it comes to us promoting them, promoting opportunities for them. And in my role as Director of Business Development and Communications, I help train all of our portfolio startups if they ever have a TV interview and they need coaching for that, or if they have a new product and they're doing a press release, we help with who to target for those opportunities. And then we also host programs throughout the year through our PS27 Foundation. And, we got the word out to launch Tallahassee because we believe that Jacksonville is a growing tech ecosystem, and that includes regional partners like Tallahassee, Gainesville, Tampa, places where the university system is so strong and that is also producing that top talent. And one of the things that we realized early on is that when we were seeing applications and hosting events at our office, much smaller events, we would see a lot of men who were attending and not as many women. And the PS27 Foundation really got started with a program called Female Founders Forum, where we would bring together female founders in our portfolio and other female leaders in the community that have launched startups, that have been successful, that have been able to exit their business and then be able to give back to the community as role models for students and entrepreneurs. And I know, Julia, that's the first time we met in person was at our Female Founders Forum last year.
Yes, and it was such a like the event was amazing. It was worth the trip. And I'm not sure if it's a Tallahassee thing, but everyone here complains about driving 20 minutes to an event. And I'm just like, I'm from San Francisco, like 2, 3 hours, no big deal. No. And that's what traffic involves. So I think there's like it's just a stone's throw away to go to Gainesville or to Jacksonville, really, and to attend an event like that is worthwhile the trip. You guys ran, you had a wonderful guest. It was an amazing. Let me go ahead and show this picture just because I didn't even realize this was on on your website, and I was like, yeah, right here, right next to. It was such a cool event, and I definitely plan on attending again. I really love what you guys do for women in tech. And speaking of women in tech, you are about to launch women in. Is it a? You're going to co-chair, right, in Gainesville, the WTE branch, if that's what it is.
Yeah. So Women in Technology and Entrepreneurship is a statewide organization. And I originally got connected with the founder, Rachel Knipe, during an event in Tampa called the Glaring Gap Summit that was hosted at one of their accelerators, Embark Collective. Her and I sat next to each other to go through that program. And it's been a couple of years now since she's launched Women in Tech. They have chapters all across the state, in Jacksonville, in South Florida, Tampa, just everywhere. They have over 5,000 members that are engaged in this group. She's done an incredible job of expanding. And my co-chair, Priya, she was driving down to the Orlando chapter 2 hours from Gainesville just to be able to network in this space where it was women founders and like-minded programming and educational opportunities for women in the tech industry. And she went to Rachel and said, hey, we should launch one of these things in Gainesville. Gainesville has a thriving tech ecosystem. The University of Florida is based here. There's top talent. UF Innovate has incredible female founders that incubate at their facility. Why not create a chapter here in Gainesville? And Priya started it. And then Rachel said, hey, well, I know Christine. She lives in Gainesville. Why don't we get her on board too? And we've been dreaming this up for about 2 months now. We met with several other ecosystem partners like Santa Fe College and Start GNV. And before we launched, we wanted to make sure that this was something that was needed and necessary in the community. And the overwhelming response was just, yes, do it, get it on the books, get it planned. So our launch date is October 23rd at 5:30 p.m. at First Magnitude. So inviting everyone on this call, whether you're in Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Orlando, or Tampa. Gainesville is a 2-hour drive from all of those places. It's not that far. Come spend the day, see what Gainesville has to offer. It's an incredible place that has, stolen my heart since I moved here 4 years ago. And come on out to our Women in Tech launch.
I love it. Yeah, I was planning on attending last time, but Helene threw a curveball, and of course, we all couldn't go to that. But so I'm so glad y'all were able to reschedule, and I'm hoping to be able to make it to that one. So going back to in the timeline when Start GNB, when you got involved with that, like tell us a little bit more about that and the Gainesville tech ecosystem as well.
Yeah. So I'll go back in the timeline, kind of back to where we left off when I was first getting into PS27 after that internship at Naturally Smart Foods. After being on the team for about 5 years, I got married in 2014, and my husband got a job in Gainesville that moved us here. And his start date was March 1st, 2020. So I said goodbye to PS27. I thought I was leaving. I thought, my role was in person. I didn't think remote opportunities were an option. I thought, maybe I would go back to school here. And then COVID hit. University put a hold on hiring. All the teachers went home. The students went home. Virtual learning took off. And I already spent enough time in front of my computer where I was like, I cannot spend any more time, going back to school online. So I asked PS27, hey, can I keep my job? Can I work virtually for the team and continue to do my role? And at that time, all of our team was going virtual. Our office closed. It was the summer of COVID, and there were very little opportunities to meet in person with other entrepreneurs. So I started meeting with ecosystem partners across the state, in Tampa, in Orlando, and in Jacksonville, and even down to Miami, And that's when I first heard about Start GNV through the local community and the opportunities that were available through their board members to connect with the local ecosystem. So Start GNV launched applications to join their board of directors at the end of 2020. I applied. The director at the time, Lauren Asmus, reached out to me and got me connected with some of the leadership there. And I was just overwhelmed with people who knew what venture capital was. I think a lot of people don't understand what VC is. And, in Gainesville, it was kind of a welcoming space where there was this community of founders and ecosystem builders. And through our board of directors, I've made some lifelong friends that have been able to help me get plugged into the tech community here. I joined the board at the start of 2021 and then served for 3 years. And what Start GNV does is it has quarterly programs that connect entrepreneurs. So in the springtime, they do an event called Bar Camp, which is not a bar or a camp. It's a little confusing, but it's from the tech ecosystem in California. Maybe you've heard of it before. And what they do is it's an open conference where anyone can come out and give a talk on any subject, as long as it's a learning opportunity. So people come out, they bring a sticky note, they say, hey, I'm giving a talk on public relations at 9 a.m. in room 204. And the conference gets built out that morning. So it's very exciting, very engaging. That's a really fun event that they do. Every year in the springtime, it's hosted at Santa Fe College. Lawrence Andrews, who serves on our board at the PS27 Foundation, helps plan and execute that program. And then in the fall time, in August, they do an incredible event called Battle of the Bands. And this program is all about ending and combating homelessness in Gainesville. So tech companies, within the company, they form a band. So let's say CityClips, Julia, you're on the drums. Your CTO is the singer, your marketing director is over there on the tambourine, and they play cover songs all to raise money for our local homeless shelter, Grace Marketplace. And the reason they host that event is because tech companies often cause gentrification in cities, and homelessness becomes more of an issue. So we've, over the past 3 years, been able to raise, $100,000 for Grace Marketplace in the community, which is just incredible. Each year, the event, it's uplifting, it's so much fun. It's a great opportunity for tech employees to also bond with each other. And you're bringing it up here, Battle of the Bands. So they just hosted this in August. And I think at this year's event, they raised about $36,000 for the organization. So just an incredible turnout and such a fun event. There's some really fun videos on YouTube. Then in the fall, I'll make this short, they do a startup sprint where they bring together students to start their own companies, and the prize is office space at an incubator. And then in January, something that's really cool is they do an award ceremony called Celebrate GNV, where they celebrate all of the tech companies, the rising star startups. They get a grant award for $5,000 to keep going with their business. They celebrate mentors in the community, companies that have a focus on diversity, and a host of awards that they do each year. And it's just a great event that's hosted at the Cade Museum, which is the Founders of Gatorade. So they do a lot for the community. I can't say enough good things about the team at Start GNV. They're all volunteers and they're all incredible.
That is so cool. Yeah, I see those posts a lot. I am following, is it 161 Ventures, I believe? And they're doing great work there too. And really, really cool. So learning, I on the surface, I know that Gainesville is ahead of the curve, like literally with tech and everything in the Florida tech ecosystem. I would say North Florida area or Central North. Because I know Miami's got a lot going on, there's a lot of funding, etc. But I really am impressed with the types of tech and innovation that's coming out of Gainesville. I know people in Tallahassee and FSU are probably going to hate me for this, but whatever. I come from a more open community in the Bay Area of San Francisco, where we just connect with each other regardless of our backgrounds or schools. Like, yes, there's rivalries, sports, whatever. But when it comes to tech and innovation, like, we could care less, right? As long as you can get the job done. So for you, you being in the space longer than me and being in the community and everything, like, what is your observation of the current tech ecosystem overall? And where do you feel like we can learn from? What are some great examples of what you've seen?
Yeah, so the tech ecosystem is always growing and evolving, but I would say the key elements of a tech ecosystem that really make for a successful community are number one, universities. So you have to have a good university that's producing top talent and opportunities for students to think big and have really creative ideas. Here at the University of Florida, they have a minor that's focused on innovation through their Innovation Academy. And these are all incredible honors students. They have an opposite schedule of the typical students at the University of Florida. So their fall starts at the beginning of summer and their programming goes through the summer. And each year they do an incredible program that's called the Catalyst Challenge, where they partner with a big corporate company. This past year, they partnered with Citibank in Tampa to help rethink their benefits programs and apply creative ideas. They all have to use 3D modeling to showcase this at what's like a science fair that we all go to and help judge, and there are awards given. And it's really a way for students to start thinking about opportunities to innovate. And they have several opportunities throughout the year where they're helping these students form startup teams with big ideas. And then they bring in VC partners, they bring in ecosystem partners and representatives from those big corporate companies to help critique the ideas and hopefully help them move forward with some of them that become startup businesses. They also have an incredible program here at the Warrington College of Business called the Hatchery, where they do a big idea competition each year, which is where people are putting together a business plan for their ideas. And even before I moved to Gainesville, some of those early stage startup companies would come to Jacksonville to attend PS27's annual program that we were doing called Leadership Week, where we would have teams attend from all across the US and learn leadership skills like emotional intelligence, team building, and a variety of other things that founders need to be able to build community and to be able to lead their teams as they move forward from a small company that maybe has 5 or 6 employees to a big company that has 500 employees within the span of 3 to 5 years. So I think universities is number one. Coming from the University of North Florida, I know we have a new president at the University of North Florida who came from Tampa. He is thinking up some incredible ideas to get the programs there involved. I know where you are in Tallahassee, there are also some incredible opportunities for entrepreneurs through Dami Station and connections. And like you, we believe that all tides raise all ships. Not to give a hurricane analogy here, but we post our events on Launch Tallahassee to reach founders like yourself to say, hey, we are doing this program. Maybe it's targeted just for you. Maybe you're inspired by Sheila Liario Marcello and you want to come hear the founder of care.com, one of less than 20 women in the US who have brought a company all the way from founder to IPO. So I think that for us, we want to get the word out to those university programs. And as director of business development, part of my role is to reach out to universities, accelerators, and entrepreneurship support organizations to help tell the story of PS27 and to recruit that top talent to pitch us their ideas so we can invest and make their businesses successful through our hands-on model of investment. So there's universities. The other thing that's really important are our big corporate companies that are across Northeast Florida. So recently I connected with Haskell, which is a big construction company in Jacksonville. They actually have a VC firm built out within their company that is focused on construction tech. So if you invented like the world's greatest hammer, they'll help fund it and put it into market. And that's just a silly example that I gave. But if you look at their site, you can see different applications. There's also companies like FIS in Jacksonville, which is a big fintech firm. They have an internal accelerator that's focused on fintech startups where you can apply to join if you're starting a financial technology company. That's one of the areas that PS27 invests in and is an expert in. So we partner with them to help guide their founders. We'll serve on panels or as judges at some of those tech events. And then the third thing that's really important is our accelerators. So the accelerator programs throughout the state, whether it be early stage like the Small Business Development Center or the Jim Moran Institute, or even bigger accelerators as things get moved along, like the Tampa Bay Wave or Embark Collective or UF Innovate, to help founders understand the different challenges that founders come across as they're building their business. how do you split ties of the company with your co-founder? Or how do you learn about effective communications or crisis communications when something goes wrong? Or how do you secure your intellectual property if you have something that's novel and it's the first time you've invented it? And those accelerator programs are there to answer those questions and help you guide along the way. And those three pieces of the ecosystem really form the community of tech and the people that are involved in it to make new businesses grow to some of the big tech companies that you see that get covered in TechCrunch and Forbes Entrepreneur.
So cool. I mean, and you probably have a wide network to be able to bring in the people that you do. And I saw that you attended Inbound, and that, like, the Boston tech ecosystem, California, obviously, everyone knows about Silicon Valley, but there's like these smaller communities, and we can learn from those bigger tech ecosystems, but not repeat the same mistakes, I would like to say, because it's not like it's perfect. But events like that, what Inbound is, and to raise that much money and to support startups like that, that's really cool. And we're starting to see more of that here in Florida. And so for what you all do at PS27, it's really, really awesome that you guys are taking the lead to do that. I don't think I might have not seen it anywhere else really to that level and extent of how much you guys provide for. What's the prize pool again? It's for women and veterans, right? And then you also have a third one, don't you?
So at PS27, we invest in all entrepreneurs. When we launched our Rhea Fund in 2021, it was the first time that we brought in limited partners. And we made a commitment with that fund and our history that 50% of the fund would go to women founders, veteran founders, those who may be disabled, and people of color. And we're proud to share that the Rhea Fund is led by over 50% female founders and co-founders. But we invest in all entrepreneurs, anyone who has the best idea. And our programs through the PS27 Foundation are specifically focused on diversity and diverse groups. So we started with our Female Founders Forum, where I shared the story of the small group of women. In 2020, that was the summer of Black Lives Matter. And after George Floyd's killing, as a Black-owned VC firm, we were being asked to give talks on the history in the United States of equity and inclusion. And a lot of other VC partners reached out to us and angel investors and said, hey, we want to do the right thing right now. We want to invest in the Black community. We want to make an impact for these founders. We just don't know where to find them. Do you guys know where to find them because of your connections to the Black community? And we said, hey, we've done this Female Founders Forum program, high impact, one day, bringing everybody together. Let's do that for Black founders in Jacksonville for the first ever Black Founders Forum. And we launched that program last year. It was incredible, a sold out event. We had JP Morgan Chase immediately sign on as our title sponsor and lead the way for connecting Black founders, angel investors. We hosted a pitch competition. The winner of the pitch competition was promised to go through due diligence with PS27 for a $250,000 investment. She negotiated a $500,000 investment from our team, so she increased that check size. So what our programs are really focused on is connecting founders with opportunities for capital. And I love that you mentioned Inbound, and we'll kind of circle back to that. But one of the things that we did is we started launching pitch competitions at all of our programs. So we added the pitch competition to the Female Founders Forum. The company that won that was called Kidea out of Chicago. She's an incredible founder that's working in the sustainability space. And next year, we're also getting ready to launch our first ever Hispanic Founders Forum. So we just brought in a new board of directors in January. And what we've learned through research and talking to the community and talking to community partners is that there's not really a program that's dedicated to Hispanic founders in North Florida. And that's one of the fastest growing populations. So kind of as things are brought to our table, as ideas are brought to us, we're very receptive and we say, we can get it done. So we are launching our Hispanic Founders Forum on September 18th of next year. It's gonna be the first time we're doing that program. It's gonna be modeled like all of the programs that you've seen from PS27 with that level of excellence. We've been doing the Female Founders Forum this next year. It'll be coming up on 10 years. So we have 10 years of event planning experience. We bring in high net worth keynote speakers who have done it, who have raised millions of dollars, who have sold their businesses, who have been able to make an impact. And we also host local entrepreneurs on a panel to share their stories. At the Female Founders Forum, we did a program called She Kept Going, which was about, sharing stories of resilience. At the Black Founders Forum, we brought in a venture capital company out of Atlanta called Collab Capital and Barry Givens to come out and speak. Carla Harris, who's a senior executive at Morgan Stanley, who's from Jacksonville, was one of our keynote speakers for that program. So those are the types of events that we host through our foundation, which is our nonprofit side of PS27. And that really got started, with us hosting small lunch and learns at our office. And then some of those big corporate companies in Jacksonville said, hey, we want to sponsor these startups. We see the value in business development and impact and making Jacksonville an innovation economy. And through our programs, we've created over 1,000 jobs. We've invested, companies have raised over $100 million from programs from attending. And they're much broader than the companies that PS27 sees through our deal flow 365 days a year. It allows us to see, targeted groups of individuals who are pitching live on stage, who are making those in-person connections. And because we invite all of the angel investors and VC funds in our network to come out and attend, people are also able to make connections with, other investors and people who want to see their businesses be successful. And I know that Dami Station came out and had a table at one of our events. We also have the opportunity for table space for community partners to come and meet with those specific groups. And then finally in the fall, we do a veterans program. Our CEO is a former Marine captain, and veterans have always been close to our heart at PS27. So we host the Veteran Founders Forum near Veterans Day in November as an opportunity to teach veterans, military workers, and their spouses marketing, finance, and how to grow their business. And we pair each of these companies up with a mentor for the next 6 months to help them achieve the goals that they set on that date. So we're covering 4 different programs for 4 different quarters of next year, similar to Start GNV. We have our Female Founders Forum in March, which is March 7th, in celebration of International Women's Day. We have our Black Founders Forum in June, which is in celebration of Juneteenth. Our Hispanic Founders Forum on September 18th. And then to be determined on our Veteran Founders Forum, we're working with the Jacksonville Veteran Chamber of Commerce founder, Damika Jackson, who serves on our board, to bring that program back next year. So we've got a very busy schedule. All of the tickets are available for our events on our foundation site if people want to come out and get involved. But that's, another thing that drives PS27 to be able to make the best investments is the capital connections and community that are made during our events. And I'll circle back to.
I was like, you're doing amazing.
No. I was just rolling. And now I'm like, oh yeah, she was asking me about inbound. Inbound was incredible. I can circle back to that for a second. Inbound is an incredible conference that's held in Boston, one of the biggest conferences that I've ever been to. This was my first year attending, and they launched a $1 million pitch competition for founders who are creating software as a service, primarily in the marketing industry. So we were super excited to be able to attend another pitch competition, be able to learn from the people that were there. The keynote speaker was Serena Williams. They had an interview by Kara Swisher. So the tech community was really showing up for these founders. There were 6 founders who took the stage, were able to pitch their startup ideas to a panel of judges. They had incredible judges from HubSpot Ventures, who was investing the $1 million. They had Amazon Web Services. They had the founder who had won the pitch competition the year previously. So they had an incredible panel of judges, just some really top tier founders pitching their companies. We got to see a company out of Tampa called Spontively. So we got to root for another Florida company to win the pitch competition. There were some friends from Embark Collective, the incubator where Spontively incubates out of, who attended the event. Aaron Evans and I got to walk around the conference together a bit and meet with founders. So it was a really cool experience. And just being able to see founders take the stage on an even bigger stage than what we're doing in Jacksonville we actually created an entire PowerPoint presentation on how we can improve our events and make them even bigger and better, like these large scale conferences. And it was just really fun to be in Boston, to be able to connect with some of the other ecosystem partners who are out there. Before the pitch competition, I had a chance to sit down with a judge from Amazon Web Services and learn a little bit more about what she does for the startup communities. And we have a follow-up conversation on how to get some of our founders plugged into their services at Amazon Web Services. So just a really great conference. I highly recommend it if you ever get the chance to attend Inbound.
So cool. And I mean, you do so many events, and I know it's a lot of work. It is, and speaking of events, I'll go ahead and just bring up Synapse, because that, to me, they say, they serve a great example of running a really great event here in Florida. I know Engage in Miami also does a great job, or is it Emercy? There's so many. But and you also, did you like volunteer? Did you table? You were involved here too. And then of course, I would love to circle back and just talk more about what you want to focus on, and how we can help you.
Yeah. So with Synapse, moving to Gainesville, Florida, Synapse is hosted each year in Tampa for their Synapse Summit. And I was able to get there a lot easier. So I was able to attend Synapse for the first time and really get to see what it was all about. PS27 has also been a sponsor of Synapse in the past years. And our team has always made the effort to try to drive from Jacksonville to get there and get some team members to attend. And it's just an incredible event. Previously, it was held at the hockey arena, so multiple floors of universities, startup founders, accelerators, partners, people who are interested in the tech space, all coming together in Tampa. And once I joined the team at Start GNV and was getting a little bit more involved in regional spaces throughout the state, I was asked to be an impact board member at Synapse. And then through volunteering at that organization, they eventually asked me to be the regional ambassador, where now we host Synapse programs here in Gainesville as well, where some of their team members will come out and speak at events like the Gainesville Innovation Summit that's coming up during homecoming on November 18th. It's hosted by 161 Group. So it's just an incredible opportunity to be able to connect with founders across the state. For PS27, we're always looking for those opportunities to learn from events that are going on across the state. And it's always a pleasure to work with the team at Synapse. They're so passionate about what they do. They're another nonprofit organization who dreams really big. They've had speakers like Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, on their stage, and they're just someone we admire when it comes to other people who are leading their region in innovation.
So what would you like to say for those in the tech space, with startups in general too, here in Florida, especially? Like, where would be a great, we're sharing your links and everything. Everyone will be able to follow you. And just, I highly recommend, obviously, following Christine Caven, because I said it wrong earlier. But yes, because she knows everyone, obviously. But what would you say would be a great starting point for those who are in the ideation phase?
Yeah, I would say one great starting place if you're in the ideation phase, I mentioned this earlier, is the Small Business Development Center. That's a government-funded organization where you can take a class on how to start up your business, and they're going to walk you through those initial stages of forming a business plan. Going to pair you with mentors. There's also SCORE business mentors that have chapters across the state, and these are founders who have done it, wanting to volunteer and give back their time because they're retired now. They have a little bit more time to give back to the startup communities. So SBDC, SCORE mentors. I would also mention that the Cade Museum here in Gainesville does an innovation awards every year called the Cade Prize. And they give away $10,000 to 5 different companies. And then they all pitch on stage, and the top company gets another $50,000 to start their idea stage company. So it can seriously be like very early stage, very early on in your thinking, as long as it's solving an incredible problem. And they just announced that next year, the founders of the Cade Museum are the son and daughter of the founder of Gatorade. And next year, they're also bringing in sports tech. So Gatorade is also co-partnering to look at these businesses in the sports industry. So that's a really exciting opportunity. It's grant opportunities. Our team at PS27, through our intern, is currently putting together a list of grants throughout the state. And that can often help your business get to that next step where you're able to start, getting those first customers. And then once you do have some customers, you do have the budget to be able to get a team established. Come pitch your idea to PS27 Ventures. You can send us your pitch deck, and our analyst Hale will take a look at it. You can send it directly to me and I'll get it to our investment committee. We love investing in Florida companies. The state of Florida, through the Florida Opportunity Fund, is an investor in our fund. So we have a specific focus on Florida, where we can oftentimes raise even additional dollars through our VC partners here. But we invest all across the United States. So anywhere, as long as the company is US based, it's currently in market. We like to see that you have a team established. We like to see that you're typically making about 25K in monthly reoccurring revenue. Those are some of the milestones that we look at. And then we would go through that due diligence process, which we could probably spend another 45 minutes talking about. So I'll make it brief, but start with those early stage opportunities for learning, start with those early stage grants. And then when you're ready for early stage venture capital, come see us at PS27. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing opportunities for founders to pitch at these events. Our applications for our foundation pitch competitions are going to be launched in early November. So if you send me your email address, I can add you to the email list that we send out that talks about these programs. We try to post them on as many community calendars as we can get them on, like Launch Tally. So hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of Tallahassee founders at our programs in 2025.
Absolutely. And that's what we want to do at CityClips, is share those opportunities to the local North Florida tech ecosystem. And because often we find, even here with just Tallahassee alone, nobody knows that one another exists. Like literally people like, oh, I didn't know that person was here in town, and they're in the tech ecosystem. So we're trying to bridge those gaps, and we would love to reshare all the opportunities that you guys are doing, all the work that you do over there. And so thank you so much, Christine, for doing this. This is amazing. And you need to have your own show.
Thank you, Julia. This is a lot of fun.
Does PS27 have something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Right. We don't have our own podcast show. We oftentimes go on partner podcasts. So if you would like to book any of our team on a podcast, we always are trying to reach out to new audiences.
Yeah. I'm going to spruce up my podcast game and try to get something together to have amazing guests like Jim. And thank you. You've been amazing. Thank you for taking the time to be on my show.
Yeah, stay safe, stay dry, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you on the other side as we end the stream. See you guys. We'd love to talk to those in tech over in North Florida area.